You know, the activities on college campuses now for months and months and months and months. The rise of
Good morning, 60 gang. This your boy Doug. June 3rd, 2025, and I'm up and at it up here in Fairmont, Georgia. Going to go see Mr. John Holson Sack about his refrigerator. Good morning to those who got up with me today. Happy birthday to those born today, June 3rd, and my condolences go out to those who did not wake up with us. So we've got a refrigerator to take care of today. I'm going to have you guys ride with me. Then we go from there to, I think there's a guy in Decatur. Look at his refrigerator. Let's unplug this so we can do that.
Especially in blue states. And an example of that we saw yesterday when the police chief of Boulder refused to call this a terror attack, and the FBI did. There's a disconnect there. And secondly, Democrats continue to allow this whole Free Palestine movement to turn violent, just like they allowed violence to occur against Elon Musk and Tesla. Now, let me just show you an example of how delusional Democrats can be. Here's Jamie Raskin, congressman, saying this.
We've got to take whatever precautions and security measures we need to make sure that people can do that. That's essential. But there's been a lot of violence in our society recently, as we saw in Washington. Now we're seeing in Colorado, but we've seen it across the country. We are still in the midst of a gun violence epidemic. So we need to be acting with due concern for human life. I mean, this is why, of course, we have been fighting for a universal violent criminal background check. We are for a ban on military-style assault weapons in the country. Our lax gun laws are a danger to everybody in America, and that's something that we can act with some legislative determination to turn around.
All right, so before we even respond to that nonsense, please, if you guys have been getting value from our channel, like, share, and subscribe. If you want to support us further, you can go to the link in the description below, buy us a cup of coffee, shop our merch store, or follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Okay, so maybe I missed it, but I don't see how gun legislation has anything to do with this terror attack, okay? I guess it's a great example of how the congressman has no idea what he's talking about, and again, trying to score political points here. Let me just show you a clip here from the officials on the ground there. They held a press conference earlier today, releasing additional details about this criminal. Just listen to this, and then we'll come back and react to Mr. Jamie Raskin there.
Mr. Solomon stated that he had been planning this attack for a year. And he acted because he hated what he called the Zionist group. But what the charges allege that he did was to throw Molotov cocktails at a group of men and women, some of them in their late 80s, burning them as they peacefully walked on a Sunday to draw attention to Israeli hostages held in Gaza. And when he was interviewed about the attack, he said he wanted them all to die. He had no regrets, and he would go back and do it again. He said that he had previously tried to purchase a firearm, but resorted to the Molotov cocktails when he could not purchase a gun because he was not a legal citizen.
All right, so here's what you guys need to know. The left clearly is trying to minimize this because they know this is another example of violence coming from their party, the way that they talk, these movements that they have within the party, like Free Palestine. And what they're doing is they're minimizing it by trying to bring up January 6th. I'm going to show you another example of that here shortly. Number two, this highlights the weakness of the party as well when it comes to policy, immigration. This guy's a foreign national, overstayed his visa, and is looking to destroy the United States of America, and planned this for a year. And number three, even though Jamie Raskin wants to bring up gun control, you heard what the official said. The guy attempted to get a gun, wasn't allowed to because he was not an American citizen. So again, what does gun legislation have to do with this? I have no idea. All right, now let me show you this next clip from book salesman Jake Tapper when he starts rambling about violent right-wing anti-Semitism in response to this terror attack. Take a look.
Anti-Semitism obviously is a big problem on the left, and we've seen that in these violent attacks in recent months. Governor Shapiro's house, the attack and murders outside the Jewish Museum. It is also a problem on the right. I mean, in addition to the Tree of Life synagogue killing in Pittsburgh, which is obviously homicidal, there's been reporting recently that the Pentagon press secretary, Kingsley Wilson, has a history of social media posts pushing anti-Semitic tropes, extremist theories. NPR reports it has identified 3 Trump officials with close ties to anti-Semitic extremists like Nick Fuentes.
Okay, I just have to stop it because you have to pay attention to the way that they speak. They have ties to Nick Fuentes. So does that definitively mean they're anti-Semitic? That's number one. Secondly, let's say whoever it was at the Pentagon who's uploading these crazy posts and these tropes or whatever they want to frame it as, let's say that's all true. Is that the same as somebody throwing Molotov cocktails at actual people who are pro-Israel while they're doing a peaceful protest? No. Is that the same thing as someone who was trying to blow up the governor of Pennsylvania? No. So I don't know why he tried to set up the question by equating those two. And then he makes himself look even stupid when he says, well, I'm not trying to, do this whole thing called whataboutism. But you are doing it, Jake.
I think, and again, the problem right now that we're seeing in terms of violence is on the left. And I want to make it clear, I'm not doing whataboutism. But it is really difficult to be a Jew in America and not see this as a bipartisan affliction.
Well, to your point right there, again, the violence right now is coming from the left, which is why we do 2 things. We empower our state and local law enforcement to work with their federal counterparts to absolutely hold accountable these violent attacks when they slip through the cracks. But more than that, we support our state and local law enforcement being able to work with the feds to prevent these things from happening in the first place. And that is very, very difficult in sanctuary states like Colorado, like California, like many other blue states around the country, where state and local law enforcement is not allowed to work with their federal counterparts to be able to put all the pieces of the puzzle together to prevent things like this happening. So, to your point about the violence, we have to be able to work federal, state, and local together to stop this from happening. And then we always condemn anti-Semitic actions, words, deeds, wherever they're found, to make sure that everyone in our community knows this is not appropriate, this is not okay, and you will be called out for it. And if you ever commit a bias-motivated crime against the Jewish community, you will be held to account to the fullest extent of the law.
All right, guys, I just have to say, Jake Tapper, he has to be morally conflicted. I mean, I would literally ask him if I ever met him, like, how do you do it? I mean, you have to have a conscience. I know you have an intuition, and it's telling you what you're saying is wrong. But I think through years of that programming and the habit of framing things a certain way, it's easy for him to do it. Now, if you have a brain, you can see right through what he's saying. He's trying to equate the two so he can minimize the rhetoric that the violence is coming from the left. If he wasn't trying to minimize it, he wouldn't set up everything by saying all this right-wing stuff and, all these suggestions that people who are currently a part of the administration are anti-Semitic. He wouldn't do that. All right, and now I'm going to show you this clip from Ted Cruz. He's reacting to CNN's disgusting coverage of this terror attack, where they brought on people to criticize the FBI and the way that they handled it. And here you go.
It's hard to imagine that the FBI has more or better information at this point to kind of rush out with the conclusion within like 10 minutes after we all started hearing about this, that it's a targeted act of terror. It may very well be, but most of the time you try to be very careful about attaching that label to an attack until you have solid evidence that indicates a motive that would qualify as terrorism. Like,
Now, Senator, the fact that this guy was at such a high level at the FBI and helped lead the efforts against Donald Trump with the scam Russia investigation, and this is what he offers then?
Look, he's left-wing radical, and he's committed to lying. We also saw the Boulder Police Department say, well, we don't know that it's terrorism. This guy was a lunatic who was at a pro-Israel protest, elderly Jewish people, including a Holocaust survivor there, calling for the release of hostages taken on October 7th, and this guy screams "Free Palestine" and lights them on fire.
And that's why Dan Bongino put this up today. To be clear, moving forward, when the evidence passed to our FBI leadership team from an active crime scene includes clear, ideologically motivated statements, video, multiple witness accounts, Molotov cocktails, and a large gatherings of like-minded people, we will investigate those incidents as targeted acts of terror. If the investigation turns in a different direction, despite the evidence, we can make adjustments. And everyone is innocent until proven guilty in our justice system. But we are the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We are not the Federal Bureau of Word Games. And that's true, because that's exactly what mainstream media and Democrats are doing.
And you look at CNN, by the way, the New York Times didn't mention in their coverage this guy was an illegal immigrant. It's reminiscent, you remember the earlier terror attack in New Orleans, where this lunatic drove a truck into a crowd with an ISIS flag behind it. And what did the career FBI person there say? Well, we don't know that this is terrorism. You know what? When you fly an ISIS flag and murder people, we do know it's terrorism. It is obvious, and it's a political agenda that they don't want to acknowledge. These are radical Islamic terrorists. By the way, we've seen in the last 2 months, we've seen elderly Jewish people lit on fire by radical leftist Islamists. We've seen a beautiful young Jewish couple murdered here in Washington, D.C. simply because they're Jews. And the guy was a leftist from Chicago. He wasn't Palestinian. He was just a leftist ideologue who screamed free Palestine. And then we also saw the Jewish governor of Pennsylvania, the governor's mansion firebombed with a radical that wanted to murder him and his entire family. This is a poisonous ideology, and it's one that flourished under Joe Biden and the Democrats.
Yeah, it just blows my mind why it's so hard for people to just agree on certain things. When someone is murdering American citizens, especially when they were peacefully protesting in solidarity for pro-Israeli hostages that are still stuck in Gaza, I don't think it's too much to ask to be on the same page here. It is a domestic terror attack. That's number one. Number two, this guy is a foreign national, a legal migrant, allegedly, because he overstayed his visa. And he's screaming "Free Palestine." What more do you need to know? It's just fascinating. And then even the following day, I showed you clips of what people are still saying. They're totally disconnected here. Okay, so in other news, Pride Month is here, and mainstream media is basically running stories that things have changed. That the industry, although it made a lot of money, we're talking billions of dollars, it's now losing money because nobody is really pushing it anymore, and I think for good reason. Take a look.
The multi-billion-dollar business that has become Pride morphed into Pride. Pride is now big business. Think about big pharma, big tech, big tobacco, and now you know what we've got? Big Pride. Big Pride is a billion-dollar business. Pride events, though, have seen a mass exodus of sponsors since Donald Trump was elected. San Francisco Pride, New York City Pride, Utah Pride, Virginia Pride, Columbus Pride. All the events, all the parades are all now losing money. In Montana, the governor just signed a law banning Pride flags from all public school classrooms. Tim Walz put tampons in the men's room. So we've gone from insanity back to common sense. Donald Trump officially banned Pride flags from all federal buildings and all U.S. embassies. That's a good thing. That's common sense. You can do it at your house. Do whatever you want.
Now, generally speaking, that is the conservative point of view on this, is that we don't need any additional flags. There's really 3 flags that should be authorized, especially at the state level: the state flag, the American flag, and the POW flag. That's it, nothing more. But when you start adding 1,000 different flags because you're trying to tailor to 1,000 different small groups, now you're starting to conflate the value of things. And now it's to a point where the fact that President Trump signed that executive order, you still have parts of this country who looks at the American flag in disgust. Let me show you an example of that. Take a look at this.
Happy Pride Month. In my Target that used to have the Pride section, it's now all USA. Yay. It's an American summer. except for tourism, because tourism's down because no one wants to come here. USA, woo! And honestly, my dad served in the military, and I'd love to be really proud of this nation, but it's hard to be proud of it under Donald Trump. But hey, you know, while you're here, pick up a USA bikini. You know, why not? Yeah, Target's really taken this anti-DEI thing to another level.
Now, obviously, we don't know who she is, and I'm not too sure if she was trolling or not. I'm sure you guys will be able to verify that. But let's just keep it straight. Even if we go back 3 years ago, 2 years ago, under Joe Biden, I was still proud of this country. It's still the greatest country in the world, even when Democrats are in control. Now, their policies will destroy this country as we know it. I think that is true. And I think Republicans enable these policies because they don't do anything either to make their case. But the fact of the matter is, hating the American flag is as delusional as you can get. In fact, I believe it's the devil at work. How grateful is it to be in a country like this? You could have been born in North Korea. You could have been born somewhere in the Congo, but you're born in the United States of America. It doesn't get any better than that. Now, here's Mark Meadows and his take on this entire issue. Take a look.
When we look at embracing a flag, it's all about embracing the American flag. We can embrace a number of different lifestyles without actually having to celebrate it for an entire month, as you pointed out. And I'm all about lighting up the colors on the White House, but those should be red, white, and blue. As we start to look at it. And so this president has really embraced Main Street and has come along and said, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to let biological men compete in women's sports anymore. Yes. We're not going to continue to espouse those values that honestly are against the traditional American values of family, faith, and freedom.
Yep, he's spot on about that. But the real story isn't necessarily about the flags, because we know people have been losing their mind over that. It's the money, ladies and gentlemen. How many people have made money because of DEI and Pride Month and BLM, but never actually delivered results for those same groups? Even MSDNC is admitting this fact. Take a look.
I'm assuming that these companies aren't saying, well, we're not giving you the $100,000 we've given you in years past because we're afraid of the Trump administration. What are they saying?
I mean, what they're saying is that they're going to let their brands individually speak for itself. So take Diageo, for example, right? They're saying Smirnoff Vodka will still be a corporate sponsor at different individual events, but we're not going to cut that big check that we would normally cut for the San Francisco Pride event or for the New York City Pride event. Now, what those organizers are having to do, though, that's interesting, is actually turn to grassroots funding. They're having to actually go back to maybe what they were doing, say, a decade ago, right? You sort of saw this corporate rainbow washing, corporate commitment after 2015 with the defense of marriage, right, and in support of same-sex couples. The corporations jumped at the opportunity to get more involved. Now they're sort of having to go back to the communities and say, look, we need you to show up again for us because we're losing these.
Exploded over what many are calling Democratic Party deceit and betrayal. It wasn't just a heated debate. It was a raw, unscripted and fiery moment that pulled back the curtain on deep divisions within liberal commentary circles. The conversation spiraled fast into a showdown when Sarah Haynes, usually mild-mannered, spoke her mind and shook the table. One thing that really hurts me about the Democratic Party, Sarah said, is that the turn to criticize the people who support and stand by them. The people have lost trust in them. You can't criticize the people that line up more with you and care about you that way. Her words cut through the air like a knife, shocking even the audience, who couldn't believe what they were hearing.
I do think one thing that really irks me on the left, and I don't really have a lot of faith in the right, so I'm not, you tend criticize the people that you line up more, that you care more about, and that would be the Democrats for me. People lost trust in them because the voters were saying there was a concern. There were people across the board saying they had a concern. And the Democrats said, no, over here, look over here. They told the voters what to care about, and they did not listen when the voters said they cared. So these stories come out aren't about beating a dead horse. It's saying if they could have a fair conversation that we heard you, we saw we saw it as they saw it, they'd be gaining some of the voters back to say, okay, we're not going to keep saying that.
No, I don't. I think that I want to move on from why the Democratic Party lost, and I want to hear from the Democratic Party about how we are going to take our country back and how what they are going to do to combat fascism and what they're going to do to stop the Medicaid cuts that are going on, to stop giving tax cuts to billionaires, to stop taking federal workers' pensions away, to stop taking federal jobs away, to stop taking education away, to stop attacking our institutions, to stopping, why is this Trump administration stopping medical research, cancer? I want to talk about why this administration is giving refugee status to South African white Afrikaners as opposed to Afghans and Ukrainians and people of color. Let me answer what I want to.
What happened on The View wasn't just another spirited debate. It was a moment of brutal honesty, of political fatigue finally boiling over, and you're about to hear every second of it. Sunny hosting didn't let Sarah's emotional plea slide. I don't agree with that, she fired back, eyebrows furrowed. I think I want to move on from why the Democratic Party lost, and I want to hear from the Democratic Party about how we are going to take back our country. She laid out her frustrations with rapid-fire precision. To stop giving tax cuts to billionaires. To stop taking federal workers' pensions away. To start actually delivering on their promises. That's what I want to hear. But just as the room started to shift into Sunny's favour, Alyssa Slotkin jumped in with a bold interjection that stunned even her co-hosts. 77% of Americans in 2023 were saying Joe Biden is the best nominee.
77% of Americans in 2023 said Joe Biden was too old to run again. And they were told, sit down, shut up, he is the nominee. And then when it became untenable and he stepped aside, they anointed Kamala Harris. There was not a primary, there was not a democratic process. And then when she lost, they said, don't look backward, we're moving forward, we're not even going to talk about why we didn't listen to you. We had Joe Biden here last, honor to have him. I think he is a good man. I do not think he could have been president for 4 more years. The hardest job on the planet. He was elected. I didn't vote for him.
He also, President Biden took responsibility at this table, which is something that I'm frustrated with the Democrats. He said,
he did take
this falls on me. And I said that was the clearest answer of what people needed to hear.
The studio air turned thick with disbelief. The camera panned across stunned faces, viewers leaned forward, and just like that, this turned from a debate into an all-out ideological collision. The crowd buzzed. Commentators online went wild. And Sarah wasn't done. She leaned in, voice steady but filled with urgency, repeating, the Democratic Party had developed a habit of eating its own. When you dismiss or attack your base for voicing concerns, you're not leading, you're losing them, she said, and they won't stick around forever. Sunny pushed back harder than ever, saying, you don't fix a country by whining about disappointments. We need a fighting plan, not fragile feelings. She made it clear that this wasn't the time to coddle disillusioned voters. Every single election matters. We don't have the luxury of second-guessing the candidate. This is about power. This is about policy. The conversation took a fiery turn when they began questioning whether the Democratic Party had strayed too far from the average American's struggles. Rising food prices, housing instability, failed healthcare promises. Sarah called it all out. We promised change. What we got was silence and stagnation. Alyssa tried to rope the conversation back to optimism, pointing to polling and positive momentum, but the damage was done. The cracks in the party's armor were fully exposed for everyone to see. No editing, no filter, just passion, frustration, and truth. And at the center of it all, the former US president, and still, to many, the party's leading hope. But even that's no longer a given, with numbers like 77% support being tossed around as fact and then met with side eyes and skepticism. It's clear that even his position isn't bulletproof. This fight wasn't just a disagreement, it was a warning sign. When hosts who usually toe the same party line start breaking rank, you know something seismic is happening beneath the surface. And with 2025 on the horizon, that rumble may soon become a full-blown political earthquake. So if you thought daytime TV was all scripted fluff,
of liberals. That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox. And a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to. But the fox will fool you. He comes at you with his mouth shaped in such a way that even though you see his teeth, you think he's smiling.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you have any family members that are MAGA?
No.
You'll get the biggest kick out of this, Monday, and I don't think Pumps knows this. So during this most recent election, my husband, I live in I would say a 99.9% white neighborhood. Okay. So my husband comes home from work and he goes, well, the weirdest thing just happened. The house 2 blocks south of us just put up 2 MAGA signs in their front yard, and they're black.
No!
How's that?
No!
We're the only black family that lives in this godforsaken whiteness, and they're fucking MAGA. He goes, it's just such a disappointment to me.
No!
Yes. And they had 2. They're a corner house, and they had... And I was just like, because I remember when they moved in, Roman, my son that told me, the prompts and all.
I'm gonna start this thing over because I want you guys to hear this story from the beginning, just to let it resonate. But I've been talking about this on this channel for quite some time. I'm not on here to push people, one way or another, but I want to expose the manipulation, the tactics that we see, from these liberals, in particular, white liberals. Now, this guy right here, clown, we know what time it is, sell out, you can call him whatever you want to call him, sell out, bootleg, raccoon, whatever you want to call it. That's who they really are. But the fact that he allows this lady here to talk bad about another black person or a black family who decided to put a Trump ad in their yard, it just tells you everything that you need to know about these people, man. Last time I checked, you know what I'm saying? I was born black. I'm not a Democrat. Last time I checked, we have the ability to support whatever political party, be a part of whatever, have whatever political affiliations we would like to have. This is the United States of America, the last time I checked. They don't own our votes.
Let me ask
They
you
don't own
this.
us.
Do you have any family members that are MAGA?
No.
You'll get the biggest kick out of this, Monday, and I don't think Pumps knows this. So during this most recent election, my husband, I live in I would say a 99.9% white neighborhood. Okay. So my husband comes home from work and he goes, well, the weirdest thing just happened. The house 2 blocks south of us just put up 2 MAGA signs in their front yard, and they're black.
No!
How's that?
No!
We're the only black family that lives in this godforsaken whiteness, and they're fucking MAGA. He goes, it's just such a disappointment to me.
No!
Yes. And they had 2. They're a corner house, and they had... And I was just like, because I remember when they moved in, Roman, my son that told me, the prom send-offs, the culture, he was like, I love this. We need to have more color in this neighborhood. And I go, I agree. That family popped up MAGA signs.
Black Republicans is something I will never understand.
I agree.
We're cooning though, right?
This dude sitting in front of these folks says a black Republican is something I'll never understand. I just don't understand these people, man. I just don't. But let's let Chad and my guy Teach 'em Chuck and my guy He Is Blanchard. Shout out to him, Blanche out there looking like Tiger Woods,
We're the ones sitting up here cooning, right?
I guess. Wow.
If that's not a coon, I don't know what is. Like, you got the little ring, and he's letting these white women. Okay.
He's letting these white women tell him what is black and what black can be.
Exactly.
Black cannot be MAGA. Black cannot vote for Trump. Black has to be what we say it is, the white liberal. I would never understand black conservatives.
I will never understand gay sex.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, dude, what you talking about? You can't understand something. You getting dripped.
We were just, no. People, she said, we were just talking about how we need some more color in this neighborhood. I got an idea for you there, Miss Lady, right? How about you and your husband or whoever you're married to? How about you sell that nice house in that all-white neighborhood? I got some cheap real estate I can sell you in Detroit. There's some spots available for you if you want to go in and move in and have at it. Get all the color you want.
Right. If you want so much diversity, and if your all-white neighborhood is so godforsaken, as you say, then why don't you move to the hood? See how that goes over for you.
Right.
What are you talking about? Oh, you know, let the black folk come in, but they're not the kind of black folk you like. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. I mean, these people think they still own us. They definitely think that they own the black vote. They definitely do. This is sickening, man. This is sickening. And the fact that the brother is sitting on the panel with these women, you know, bucking eyes and showing teeth. But on this side of things, we the sellouts, huh? These people are ridiculous, man. Check this clip out. Another set of white liberal women going off on a sister who said that she was supporting President Trump. This is ridiculous, man.
Do I disagree? Yes, I am. Okay, so the only people, so I work for the government. The only people who ever challenged
Why did you just sort yourself in a conversation? Just shut your mouth. Listen,
it means that you understand what's okay, I think we know it. It's a sex offender and accused of espionage, indicted for espionage.
Like I said, the only people who ever challenged it are white Democrat women.
I am a 35-year national security expert.
Oh, you're so smart.
Okay,
Everybody can believe in what they want to
no.
Thank you.
Will you tell her we were having a private conversation before she came over in my face saying, am I serious? So no, don't talk to me. Talk to her. I already know. You and I
We'll definitely have someone forward that and make the call to polls, because I don't know why, I don't know what happened there, but definitely some type of miscommunication, and we'll get that sorted out for you.
I appreciate you, man.
And not a problem.
Thank you. Take care.
No problem. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
This clown.
Your call has been forwarded. Who's calling?
This is Doug Monroe. I'm replying to your text about your dryer.
Yes, I don't know what happened. I put my address in the system, and when I finished, it had the right number, but the wrong street. So I put the correct address in there, 5610 Dotrard Trail, not Dorset Shows.
Oh, okay. That sure helps me a lot, because I was going to be going to Dorset Shows. So it's 5610.
Yeah. Dotrard Trail. In Douglasville, Georgia.
Okay. Let me put that in here. Dotrot, D-O-E Trot.
Yeah, D-O-E.
I'm the actual technician that's coming to see you.
Okay.
And it says, I'm almost 2 hours away from you, but you're not my first stop. The reason why I sent you a text last night. That's Sean 2305 $. What?
Hello.
Hey, John, it's Doug.
Yes, sir.
I just pulled up, my friend.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Mr. Wholesome Doc is done. We are now off to see the next guy. Hang on, I forgot the name. Hang on. It's something. While we wait here, we got to take care of business. Y'all know me, I'm a businessman. Give me a sec. Okay, that's for the bank. Now we sent them 7633. Did they just respond? She said thumbs up. Okay. So let's see what contact information. Didn't I put it in? Edit. Let me see here. Hang on, guys. She did put it in there. Let's see. I don't even want what's the name to know. Diamond. She said, ooh, oh, they track my text. Wow. They patch my number in and watch everything I text. So, you have to be careful what you do. They watch my text. Y'all feel me? Because I went in here, right, and I clicked her name, And my contract showed that let's see, loading. Okay, she says she's at 5610. I ain't telling y'all. All I know is in Douglasville. Boom. And then when I look, right? Okay, so when I went, I did, what did I do? I did this. Okay. I don't know what happened. I gotta stop at the post office. That's the only way out of here. Be right back.